Poštovani gledalci, dobrodošli. Naš gost je Germa Queralt, profesor na Ekonomskom fakultetu Univerziteta u Barceloni i direktor Instituta za ekonomiku i javne politike, također Univerziteta u Barceloni. Profesore, dobrodošli i hvala što govorite za Hayat televiziju.
Thank you.
Ove sedmice u svojstvu ste gostujućeg profesora, predajete na Fakultetu za upravu Univerziteta u Sarajevu. Kakve su vaše impresije? Evo, kako da kažemo, ocjenjujete stanje i potencijale nastavnog i naučno-istraživačkog procesa u Bosni i Hercegovini?
Well, to be precise, is the university, the School of Public Administration. I'm myself by training, I'm an economist, but I work more on issues related to government and public administration, not so much on business administration, although governments also work with private firms, so that precisely this has been one of the aspects of the activities here in Sarajevo. What I have found is very motivated both faculty and students, and probably because my knowledge about the local structure of government in Bosnia, in Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina, was very small, actually was null. I have been surprised on how the potential that the way in which local governments are structured with the municipalities or cities, I still have some doubts on how to pronounce, and then cantons, which are much more powerful than they usually are in other parts or in other countries that I know. The impression I got is, first of all, interest in faculty and students and potential to try to understand better how local government works, and particularly when you have this jurisdiction between municipalities and the entity and the federation, these cantons that have, as I said, maybe the only example that came to my mind was Switzerland, where the cantons are powerful, have powers. So it's been very, I've learned a lot. So actually I didn't come only to teach, I also came to learn, and I have learned a lot. I still need to learn a little bit more, but much more, but I have learned a lot. It's a very interesting structure.
Imate li možda neke preporuke?
It will be very, I mean, I don't know enough about the local problems, and I just got some basic ideas about the structure of the local government, so I cannot pretend to teach and listen, because that would be arrogant. This said, what I tried to translate to students and to colleagues is the idea that maybe the most important or most interesting reform of local government right now, being studied and practiced, is promoting the cooperation between municipalities. Because oftentimes cities or municipalities, particularly if they are small, they cannot do effectively some things by themselves on their own. So cooperation is a good idea many times, and this is why. So the idea would be cooperate. Cooperate is not always necessary. Is not always. Nothing is always good. There's not universal good. There is not universal bad. Cooperation, if you think about it seriously, can be more often good. And as I said, I am interested in the role that cantons can play in promoting, encouraging municipalities to cooperate, not only with the responsibilities that the cantons have themselves, that I have learned that are different in each one of the 10 cantons. So for me, I still need to learn a lot to give any counsel. But not only the responsibilities that the cantons have by themselves, but also on the things that the municipalities have a responsibility, that they might profit from cooperation, but sometimes you need somebody promoting, pushing you a little bit and providing the right framework, the right environment.
Kao osoba sa višedecenijskim političkim iskustvom, prije svega u Španiji. Kakva su vaša sjećanja na Bosnu i Hercegovinu, pogotovo 1990. godina, krajem stoljeća? Možete li to uporediti sa sadašnjim stanjem u pogledu političke, da kažemo, ekonomske i sigurnosne perspektive?
I'm still impressed. It was impressive in the bad sense of the word, because impressive we usually use it in the good sense. I was when all the situation in Bosnia and Herzegovina was happening. I was about 30. It was a long period, so in the middle of it, I went 30. I was very much involved in politics, and then I really got pissed off because I was old enough. When 30, you are old enough to know that war is bad. But I wasn't really prepared to see how bad it could get, because I haven't seen ever nearby. So this is a conversation that I have had several times, this visit. It's not my first trip to Sarajevo, but it's the first one in which I have had contact with local people. I found myself demonstrating, asking the Western governments to do something, but something effective. You know what I mean? Do something, bomb something, stop it. So this is hard to say when we are speaking now. I mean, you say you went to a demonstration to ask your government to play a part in bombing something. I wasn't prepared to do so. This is the point at which many people we arrived there, because it was horrible. What we saw, what we knew. This is media. You asked before, right? You mentioned you began with media. We were watching it as it was happening, and it was terrible. So I was one among many people that were happy when too late all this terrible thing happened. Finished. It was impressive. Were you asking about this? So, and this is what, by the way, one of the reasons I have interest in coming back to Bosnia and Herzegovina is that for my generation, I think particularly in Barcelona, there is a specific story of cooperation with Sarajevo. For us, it's a kind of, it's something. It's something.
Profesore, kakav biste savjet dali, evo da kažem, odnosno koji bi bili prioriteti pred domaćim vlastima u procesu integracija u Evropsku uniju? Koji su rizici za koje posebno treba da se obrati pažnja? Kako vi to vidite?
Again, I am not an expert in international relations, so that you are not asking this to anybody which has a particular expertise. Okay. I think it's much better, but the situation in the last 2 years has had some changes. I think that the war in Ukraine and the Russian aggression has increased the tension in all Europe. It has also increased the tension in the area. And that because we all know, and you know better than I do, which are the alliances in the region with respect to the stronger powers, we know that tension is higher, has increased. And even if I don't closely follow politics in Balkans because I don't know the languages, I can't. But I've seen that the last months there has been some rhetoric getting warmer in Republic Srpska and perhaps also Serbia. So I think, again, please don't take it as an expertise, right? Just a guy from Barcelona who gives an opinion. But I see it much better, of course, but a little bit more tense than in 2015, which was my previous strictly private visit. And I think that something should be done about that.
Profesore, krajem marta je u Bosni i Hercegovini odobreno otvaranje pregovora s Evropskom unijom bez određenog datuma početka pregovora. Sad, domaće vlasti nisu ispunile većinu od postavljenih prioriteta komisije, imaju praksu obmanjivanja evropskih zvaničnika. Koliko je takav kontekst dobar za Bosnu i Hercegovinu i kakva je zapravo evropska perspektiva, prije svega Bosne i Hercegovine, na tom putu?
Well, I cannot say what is the objective or the intention. What I can say is that, generally speaking, in the last, not the last 2 years, but a few longer time, concerns about safety in the region have played a bigger role in the European Union. So the idea is that NATO was losing popularity and role, so that the European Union, as an area not only for economic exchange and political cooperation, but also for common safety, was increasing. The role of NATO in the last 2 years, thanks to Russia, the role of NATO has increased. You see, Sweden wanted to enter NATO, Finland wanted to enter NATO, big business for Putin. So that, and because we need to learn what the history teaches us.
Lokalne vlasti imaju različite mogućnosti realizacije što javnih politika, onda različite rezultate su primjetni u praksi. Naročito su primjetni problemi u koordinaciji sa višim nivoima vlasti, mnogobrojni infrastrukturni problemi u pogledu lokalnih saobraćajnica, snabdijevanja vodom, odvoza otpada, upravljanja prirodnim resursima, ali nekako i neravnopravne raspodjele javnih prihoda između različitih nivoa vlasti. Zanima me vaše mišljenje.
Again, in this case, at least some knowledge I have got of commuting by road and conversations with colleagues. My experience with this very little and very metropolitan, very urban, so it's not representative of the more rural areas, is that you need improvement, but I don't see a basically bad situation. The road is crowded, so this also means that public transportation cannot work effectively, and at least in this road that I have been not driving, but being driven every day. I guess that as it happened in Spain, in many regions, I was born and grew up in a very small town, 700 people. There must be problems of basic infrastructure and basic public services. It's not impossible to make progress. Let me say it different. It's quite possible to make progress, and if you want to, it needs and I think that this is why it is important that the local governments have autonomy and power in Bosnia, in the federation, because this is something that is particularly felt and perceived by the citizens where they live. So you cannot expect a citizen in Sarajevo understanding what is the situation of a village or a small town 200 kilometers away. This is very local experience. So this is why I think that local government with power and responsibilities is important. Then of course it creates problems of coordination, because you have to coordinate, because as I said, nothing is perfect. But if you got everything central, then who cares about this village 200 kilometers away? Nobody cares unless this village has a minister. I mean, centralization for this would be a very long discussion. But in order to provide services to municipalities and cities, particularly small, centralization does not work, local empowerment works. Then you will find better results, worse results, depends on how people are active in a specific place, how politicians are formed, elected, etc. What will provide the process, hopefully, of accession in the European Union, if it works well, is some extra funds that can be used in order to speed up the improvement of this type of equipment or infrastructure. And then there's an advice. Because in Spain we did so bad. Easy money is easy to spend. You should spend it as if it was coming out of your own work. We all, this is human, this is not a moral assessment. we all know that what we worked hard to get has value. So we take our time, most people take the time to, well, I'm going to spend this on this, I need this. When we get easy money, so people who win lottery, they kind of overspend. This is not a problem in overspending, but please spend in priorities that you really have, even if it's a little more difficult politically. In Spain, we have spent a lot in type of investments because it was easy. So much money in this project, we can spend everything. So we got too much from some things, like for instance high-speed rails. We are the leaders in the world, but so few people use it. And then we didn't invest in education, innovation, technology, like other countries did with the financial support we got from the European Union. So be wise and just remember that money, even if it comes from abroad, needs to be invested with correct priorities. And because we didn't do it well. So the council is, don't do it like us. If you want to know more how we did, ask, but don't do it like us primarily. But this is not something that I would say particularly in Bosnia-Herzegovina. This is something that I think you can say in any place because it's kind of generalized behavior. And I understand because I myself will probably do the same.
Profesor, iako je u prethodnom mandatu Bosna i Hercegovina ostvarila značajan napredak u NATO integracijama, djelimično izmijenjena struktura vlasti Bosne i Hercegovine kao visoki evropski zvaničnici koji su u prethodnom periodu posjećivali upravo našu zemlju, potpuno su zanemarili NATO integracije i daju potpuni prioritet evropskim. Kako je vaše mišljenje o ovome?
Well, I think, as I said before, that the European Union integration it has also a safety aspect, and this is also in the treaty. Though NATO is more effective because NATO has military means, whereas European Union has no military means. So the commitment exists. Look, my opinion is that safety is first, and these 2 last years, this has become quite clear. And I have become to think different from I might be thinking 40 years ago, 35 years ago. I have become to think that particularly if you are small, you need a safety net, and this is priority. So, and I also think that, look, Bosnia-Herzegovina is Europe, all the country is Europe, and this is kind of common problem. It's not singular problem. So, what is if the people in the country wants that, by the way, which I cannot take for granted, and it's not my obviously not my decision. But if the people of the country wants that, it should be in NATO, and so should be protected. We have learned that this is if you want it, is the best protection.
Možemo li onda očekivati da zbog rata u Ukrajini i globalnih geopolitičkih preslagivanja također dobijemo ubrzan pristup u Sjevernoatlantski savez?
Well, I think this has changed a lot of ways of looking at these problems. Take that, who would say that Finland or Sweden would apply for NATO membership and enter NATO just 2 years and 3 months ago? Nobody would say that. Nobody would have said that.
But they already made a few more steps, I don't know, before Bosnia.
They had cooperation. No, yeah, because they are more integrated. And military, they have cooperation with Denmark, with Norway, with other NATO members. Basically, in the case of Finland, they have border with Russia. And in the case of Sweden, they have Russian planes and submarines passing inside the... So, in a way, let me explain it this way. If you are not a neighbors of the with Republic of Serbia, I'm not talking about Srpska Republic, but Serbia, this would not be so pressing, right? Because you are not exactly next to the hot issue, which is Russia. Yeah, the 2 last years, it has been made clear for many people that the best way to protect and be protected is to join. And this applies both to Sweden or Finland, which could be quick because they were already military cooperation, economically integrated, etc. But this also applies to Bosnia and I guess then some other countries in the Balkans.
Let's stay on this topic.
My knowledge of the Balkans is very limited, right? Very limited. I just wanted to say that I think it applies to Bosnia, but also maybe to other countries.
Postoji izražena zabrinutost da bi na stanje u Bosni i Hercegovini mogla utjecati globalna aktivnost poput ukrajinskog rata, ekonomskih poremećaja na tržištu, Njemačke, na primjer, i drugih zemalja Evropske unije, jačanje ekstremne političke desnice, zatim u evropskim zemljama i tako dalje. Šta vi mislite?
Do you think it's surprising? All the big things, all the big messes in Europe have begun in Balkans. So, what way is it surprising?
World War I, for starts.
The last open war before the invasion in Ukraine. It was the war in first Serbs and Slovenians, and then Croats, and then Bosnia and Herzegovina, and then everybody in, and then all the mess, and then all the things we want to go back. We already spoke before about that. All the things we saw. So Balkans is maybe the hottest region in Europe. So how can you have a stable and safe Europe if the hottest region in Europe is in turmoil and in tension and going through tension? I mean, I think that if you just know a little bit of history, not too much, you don't need too much, just a little bit of history, wherever you are in Europe, you know that stability in the Balkans is a kind of requirement for stability all over Europe. And what is important also, because alignments, the alignments of the largest European, the most powerful European countries have been different historically. I mean, if we try to remember who has had closer relations with whom, then you get different answers if you ask about France, or if you ask about Germany, or you ask about United Kingdom, which will be the three main powers. Different type of powers. I'm not talking only about the European Union, but Europe at large. So I'm very much interested in this regard. I was making conversation with friends at the school on where the change of Macron with respect to Russia could impact these more traditional ties and alliances in the area. Because if I remember well, France has always been a kind of a strong ties with Serbs. And instead, Germany has a kind of a stronger ties with, let's say, the Adriatic, right? It's the Croats, Slovens. So, and you've got the protection of a sympathy of everybody and protection of the US, to be specific. And if the US is there, the English are there as well, because the English and US, the Britons, the United Kingdom and US, they play together. But no, if Macron has taken this is just very preliminary, first thoughts, don't take it as a doctoral dissertation, which is not. If Macron is taking a stronger stance, a stronger position with respect to Russia regarding the war of Ukraine, as he has taken, implying a stronger military involvement of Europe, Western Europe, and particularly France, this goes against the historical ties between France and the countries in the region that are closer to Russia. You know what I mean. How is this going to evolve? I don't know. I will be watching. It's very interesting developments. So again, because everything that happens and has a repercussion in the Balkans is, I'm not going to say first priority, but there's always some degree of priority for all of Europe. And this can be seen even from the other part of the continent, which is Iberia, the Iberian Peninsula. So imagine if you live around Central Europe, what can be thinking somebody in Poland or Slovakia, which they are much closer. They know better and have more exchange.
Profesore, hvala vam prije svega na dolasku u Bosnu i Hercegovinu, u glavni grad, na Hayat televiziju i hvala što ste sa nama podijelili ove analize.
Thanks to you, hvala.
A hvala i vama, poštovani gledaoci, na ukazanoj pažnji i povjerenju. Preporuka da ostanete i dalje uz program Hayat televizije.